Absolute embarrassment. I mean, for the Washington Wizards, by the way. Sixers rode to the championship. We won 132-103. Wow. Where can I start? Well, I'm going to start with a quote by Doc Rivers, who. Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, damn it. Doc Rivers deserved the Coach of the Year. I said that in the video I made about the awards and how I felt, and I especially feel even now, completely disrespected by how it looks like the number one seed in the Eastern Conference may not get so much as a single award. I think that's a travesty, and I think it's a shame on the voters. And one of the clear misses is that I feel like this is the best coaching of Doc Rivers' career. And I'll prove that with a quote. Now, Doc has always been a Hall of Fame coach. I wasn't one of those who blamed Doc for, quote-unquote, the series collapses. You were coaching a Clipper team that was flawed, both iterations. I mean, for everyone who talks about shooting in space and all those other things, was the DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin front court really, you loved the dunks, but those Clipper teams were not really great Clipper teams. You still have Paul Gasol and Kobe Bryant there for the Lakers. The Big Three still exists in San Antonio. Dallas has been there with Dirk Nowitzki. The Clippers were second fiddle because they just did not have the talent to compete. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but yeah. And Clipper fans realize that right now. They don't have the talent to compete with Dallas. They'll lose to Dallas in 6, might be 7, but they're going to lose. So really, those Clipper teams, to me, especially last year, with the Denver Nugget thing, I was like, what can you do? You didn't have anybody. You had Zubik, and we all see how that's working out right now. Or you had the undersized Montrezl Harrell. No matter which one you pick, you were going to be annihilated by Nikola Jokic. So, and then you had Jamal Murray on the perimeter playing high pick and roll with a Jokic. So what were you going to do? I asked that to the media pundits. What were you going to do? You were utterly outclassed at point guard and center. What were you going to do? How were you going to win that series? In all honesty, whether you're up 3-1 or whether you're down 3-1, whatever the situation, if another team wins 4 games more sooner than you do, there's a pretty damn good chance that the team that won 4 games, the team that won the series, there's a pretty damn good chance that it was a better roster, more times than not. Yeah, there are playoff collapses, but honestly, Denver was better than the Clippers last year. From a roster standpoint, it was a better roster than what the Clippers bought last year or this year. It's just the truth. That's just the truth. I say all that a pretext because think about the Sixers off season. What did we do? All we did was ship Al Horford out, but then again, thank God we did it, right? And then you're able to get Steph Curry. Now, in the past, I've talked about Danny Green and Steph Curry as our shooting guard small forward, and it's very conflicting. They're good shooters, but they're not super productive offensive players at the time. When you get good offensive production from those two players like we did tonight, that is when the Sixers go unguardable, untouchable. When both of these guys can at least give you 12, that will give you a combined 24. Today they gave you a combined, I think, 27 or 25. When they're able to be productive in their roles, when they're able to hit double figures, and that sounds sounding like a lot, but for those guys particularly, it's a lot. And that was the main thing because both Seth and Danny are not necessarily great scoring options. So sometimes with our big three of Jerome B, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, if those guys aren't knocking down shots, that's where you have to look at the Ben and do more. But when they're hitting shots, then you can have Ben Simmons' floor game, the deep bench, the passing, the versatility, all the things that make Ben special. You can have that when you're flanked by guys who are scoring the ball, albeit from the outside, but they're at least scoring the ball now. There's a difference in my mind, the way I look at basketball. There's a difference between someone who simply is a shooter and someone who's scoring the ball. In other words, there's a difference from Ray Allen and there's a difference from Reggie Miller than Seth Curry and J.J. Redick and Danny Green. To me, I value the Ray Allens and the Reggie Millers of the world more. When you're able to shoot and score, that's different from if you're just shooting. And my issue with spot shooters is far and few between. You'll get a good scoring night. You'll get a good shooting night, but you're not going to get a good scoring night. And it's going to be to the point, he might make it, he might miss it. But that doesn't mean we're not going to bring that pressure on Joel. We're not going to bring that pressure on Tobias. It's when that guy who's flanking the outside can also take a dribble, and that's where you get to the next level. And so tonight, Seth Curry put the points on the board. Danny Green hit some shots and put points on the board from his perspective. And that was the key. To get 30 points, both of them scored 15. To get 30 points from those two guys is so critical and so big. It's important for them to at least get 20 to 22 a night from both of them combined. You need both of these guys to hit double figures. They can't have these 6 points, 9 points, be for 5 or 2 for 6. No. Find some way to contribute on offense on a consistent basis, like tonight. Because if you do that, then the sky's the limit. So that had been the reason why I focus on the shooting guard small forward positions. I'm like, you could definitely improve on those spots. And I still feel you could. But tonight, you're not down shots, and it was a big part of this win. So, the Doc Rivers quote. I think I'll paraphrase it. Yeah, I'll paraphrase it. Doc Rivers was talking about our execution, how we got to this 3-0 lead. And Doc Rivers basically said something about how Embiid and Simmons and Harris are playing so well together, and they are. As a collective unit, not just as my turn, your turn, no, not like some Brooklyn thing. They're really playing together in the sets, in the stagger screens, double stagger screens, the 2-man, 3-man game, and they're reading the floor. Jerome B. particularly is reading the floor. I'm going to save a special segment for what Jerome B. did to the Washington Wizards. It is so hard to pinpoint Jerome B.'s best game because he always has amazing games. Jerome B., he is unlocking something that I've never seen. I don't think anyone's ever seen. I don't think the league is ready for 30-year-old Jerome B. Literally, the old saying, it ages like fine wine or it tastes like fine wine. That's Jerome B. Jerome B., believe it or not, is going to be a better basketball player at the age of 30 than he is right now at 27. Mark my words, the next 3 years of Embiid's career, it's going to be beautiful for Sixers fans, but it is going to be absolutely terrifying for the rest of the NBA. Because, now, I'll get to this Doc Rivers quote to talk about it in greater detail. Doc Rivers basically said in a paraphrasing, when you get to the point where your star players can see the floor and execute the offense without coaching, that's when you know you've taken a big step. And that's what's happened. Now, to be granted, that happened because of the other side of the court, which I just made fun of at the top of the episode. The Washington Wizards are an embarrassment. I said that in Game 1, Do I need to go over the tape? Because I feel like you could even see it live. They're just falling back in double and triple coverages, and they're just not really fighting over screens well. But even if they go under them, they're not doing a good job cutting off dribble penetration. I just have never seen such poor defensive effort, whether it be if you're going to attack the ball handler or whether you're going to, protect the paint, quote unquote, in parentheses, protect the paint, because the Wizards are small. Let's face it, that's one of the big problems for them, is from a roster standpoint, they were small. So they started Davis Bertans. Davis Bertans, oh my God. Ted Lendonis, the Wizards owner, might just be the new worst owner of basketball. I wanted Bertans last year. A lot of people were interested in Bertans. 6'10" big man who could spread the floor from the outside. A little Dario Saric type of guy. Not really. Dario's a much better ball handler, much better player. But generally speaking, 6'10", spread the floor, big man. He could probably start as long as he's hitting his shots. Emphasis, as long as he's hitting his shots. Because from what I've seen, RBC in the series, he cannot bring anything else on the floor. I'm talking about last year. That got him this ridiculous, and it was still ridiculous at the time. I remember when it was first reported, my eyes were 5 years, $85 million, Davis Bertans? One of the stupidest decisions I've ever seen. Not just the dollar amount, the years. Who the hell is going to pay Davis Bertans throughout the duration of his career? This is a guy who made minimum salary. And this is where I'm going to go on another rant about this. NBA general managers, stop it. What you're doing with these shooters is the equivalent of if an NFL team placed a premium on a kicker and we had a kicker factory. Oh my God. I might very well have just given Harry Roseman his next genius IQ move. Kicker factory. Because that's what this is now. That's what the NBA is doing right now. Davis Bertans getting a 5-year, $85 million contract is insulting the intelligence of Wizards fans, and it's insulting the NBA. Davis Bertans should have never been able to touch that contract. And wherever his agent asked for that, I would have been like, alright, fine, goodbye. And I'll draft some prospect who could shoot threes from the big position. You could find them nowadays. You could find them in the big spot. You could find them in the guards, the forwards. I really don't care. Stop it. NBA GMs need to do a better job of discerning. There's Steph Curry, there's Klay Thompson, there's Trae Young. And then there's the litany of average spot-up guys who just stand there and shoot a ball. And they're not as valuable. They're not as good. They're not going to put you in that position. Stop paying them like they are. They're role players. They're role players with a really defined role. A small role in the grand scheme of things. Stop it. I value the guys who could dribble the ball or attack the post or even rebound the ball. They're a litany of way more important skills than, I can stand here and shoot. It's not horse. It's not bingo. It's NBA basketball. You've got to play the game of basketball. You have to have a multiple facet of skills, not just one. And the reason this is triggering for me is, again, I watched this sport for 20 years now. And I paid attention to salary when I was a teenager onward. And we all saw NBA spot-up shooters. We all saw NBA role players. Jason Capono, Kyle Korver. They went from team to team to team. No one ever thought of giving a Capono, a Daniel Marshall, a Kyle Korver. No one ever thought of giving them a 5-year, $15 million contract. No one ever thought that. That thought process never came to mind. The only reason it come to mind is Steph Curry and Klay Thompson together. That's it. The Golden State Warriors redefined a concept, but they did so because they are the greatest shooters alive. Let me repeat that for the general managers. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are the greatest shooters alive. 3 or 4 good shooters together is never going to replicate the same spacing, the same dynamic play. Do you have Draymond Green on your roster? Seriously, what the Warriors are doing is not replicable. There is no other team in the NBA, period, who could replicate that. Elton Brand was right about that. The decision that Elton Brand made that was wrong was, oh, I'm going to sign a third big man. Not realizing that Ben Simmons is 6'10", you already have enough size. You don't need another big man. You needed a guard wing who could attack. Or some spot shooters in this case. You could go both ways. Obviously, since you're first in the East, Rio against the Wizards, you could go both ways. I'll admit that. That's as far as I'll go. You could go both ways. You can have a spot shooter, or you can have a wing who can attack on the dribble. But that's where you had to go, not the third big man. But Eldon was right about the principle that you're not replicating Steph and Clay. You're just not. It's never going to happen. Stop chasing the dream and stop giving bad contracts to average players who just spot up and shoot. They're not that important. And on that note, Steph Curry can do more than shoot. He could dribble drive. Klay Thompson at 6'7", he's learned a little bit of a dribble drive game himself. Not that great at it, but decent enough at it that he's incorporated something if you do chase him off the line. In other words, they are more than shooters, they are basketball players. When you sign these shooters just because they could shoot, it means nothing. Like, literally, Isaiah Joe could take over Danny Green's role in about 2 years. Maybe. I've never been high on Isaiah Joe. But that shows you what I put Danny Green into perspective. Would I sign Danny Green to a fat contract? No. With Daryl Morey? No. Put players in their proper perspective to make better decisions that will allow your teams to be more competitive. Because it's an outright shame that Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook together have shit. And the reason they have shit, Mr. Ted, is because you're paying David Bertans $85 million. It's atrocious. It is just atrocity. You know, Rui Hachimura, Neto. Neto, really? I mean, are you serious about this? Well, Neto. This is how perfect this first round series is. To be able to go up against Neto for 25 minutes a night, all 6'2" of them, and we should know perfectly well, if Neto doesn't feel like shooting, he really isn't giving you anything at all. And it's not like he's a rebounder, it's not like he's a good playmaker. So it's really good at a scrub like Neto is in the game. But for Neto to even be on your roster is just a shame. Now, Demby Abajita, their rookie, is injured, and if he were healthy, he would slide into that small forward spot. They'd have some more length, some more athleticism. I'm not saying that make a difference. I'm saying that would give them a little bit of a fighting chance of playing somewhat more conventional defense than the absolute misery. Let's put them out of their misery tomorrow. Let's put them out of their misery. End this series, and, hopefully that management and that ownership starts making the right decisions. The David Bertans contract for them is just like what Al Horford was for us. Bad contract, bad player, bad situation. That just made absolutely zero sense at all from a Wizard perspective. It doesn't help much that I would never consider Bradley Beal or Russell Westbrook to be better than maybe average defenders on a good day. So that was a thing. And the reason I'm on them is just that, I don't know, I'm triggered by how bad they played. I mean, a lot of it was Sixer domination, don't get me wrong. This is a Sixer channel. It's so great to see Tobias Harris pick and roll, taking advantage, going downhill, and just finishing at the rim. And, okay, I laid off it right enough, right? Joel Embiid. What Joel Embiid is doing is so scary. Like, there was this one possession where Joel Embiid is holding the ball up. You know what Jahlil Okafor used to do really well? And I really rarely would give Okafor credit for this. Is the whole palming the ball like a grapefruit. You're holding the ball out with your long outstretched arms. No one could touch that. Joel Embiid's learned that skill of palming the ball in his hand, holding it out, and he's literally manipulating the defense to come to him. And the difference between Joel Embiid this year and Joel Embiid in the past is this. As Joel Embiid making his move, and he's aware of the double team that's coming, that he deliberately brought, he is now willing and able and wanting to make this pass. Years past, Joel Embiid would have tried to score around it, and he still can, to a good degree of efficiency. But Joel Embiid has incorporated the will to pass. And he was able to hit Danny Green for a dime. He was able to hit Steph Curry for another dime. And he was able to make those passes that end up being what hockey would term hockey assists, secondary assists, where even though that pass didn't lead to the shot, it led to the opening that created the shot. And with Joel Embiid incorporating that into his game, with the ability to shoot the ball from the outside, and the ability to handle the ball at 7 foot, sometimes he gets a little carried away with it. He was trying to attempt, I knew what he was attempting as he wanted to attempt it. He wanted to reverse pivot and go baseline, and that probably would have been the second dunk in the night if he were able to handle the ball there. Sick move in theory, but kind of lost their balance there. It happens, but it was a sick idea. And the fact that Embiid can have that idea in his mind, and the physicality to even think that he could attempt that idea. Like, that would have been some Vince Carter. If that move worked, if he was able to handle the ball on that pivot reverse, and he would have went to the rim, that was some Vince Carter stuff from a 7-footer, and I would have been like, holy shit. And that play where he palmed the ball, that was actually leading up to the dunk, when he palmed the ball. And it's just, with Embiid now getting to the point where he's manipulating the coverage, where he's getting to the point where he's hitting 3-point shots, he's getting to the point where double teams, triple teams, single coverage. As a matter of fact, Vince Carter said that at this point he was the announcer for ESPN. So, Vince Carter was like, at this point, you have to double Embiid as the ball is in the air. And that's kind of what they do to Nikola Jokic. They double him as the ball is in the air. So, if a team does do this, what would Embiid's adjustment have to be? Embiid would have to have the immediate thought as the double is drifting to him while the ball is in the air. His mind has to be, okay, I know I can't score here. Who is the guy they just left? And I can throw that dart. Because that's what Jokic does. If you double him early, he's going to throw that dart. And I was going to give a video before the season began saying that if Jokic can do it, Embiid can do it. It's passing. And a lot of Jokic's passes, there's obviously a lot of creativity in his passes, but a lot of what Jokic does is a simple drift out pass. He does a good job beating cutters. And I feel like Joel can get there. The big thing for me, as it regards Joel Embiid, is, again, I mentioned it often, and I'll mention it again. The Brett Brown offense was baptism by fire. There was no system. There was no nothing. It was pure and utter chaos. I don't just mean last year. I mean period. There was no support for the post player. I talked about it often. Who's the babe in the offense? Who's the guy who's going to stand in the corner? Have you noticed that we always have someone in the corner? There was never a Philadelphia set when no one is in the corner. Either in the baseline corners or whether it's in the triangular sort of corner. That corner, where it kind of looks like at a 90-degree angle. So the corners are always filled in the Dot River offense. Dot River's always make sure, even if it's someone like Matisse Thybulle, come on, Tease. We need you at 40%, 35% for B. We need what you were before you got injured last year. We need you at a good shooting level so we can play you. Oh, damn it. We really need you to hit that B-ball. Oh. But we always have someone on the corners. And because someone is on the corner, and especially if they're good shooters, it's hard to double Joel off of the corner. Which means he's always going to have single coverage, or the double coverage will probably come from the post. And this is where Embiid does have to get better, and he himself said it too. When Ben is cutting into the lane, when Ben is there on the opposite block, to just be able to do that soft touch pass to Ben Simmons, and then Ben, when he gets it, he needs to go up and finish at the rim. He did good today. 14 points, 9 assists. And I thought Ben Simmons did a great job controlling tempo. My thing is if Embiid does get that shovel pass and Ben gets the ball literally right there 2 feet from the rim, I need him to go up strong in those opportunities when they present themselves. But I think they will. I think Embiid has gotten better as a passer gradually in his career. And I feel like next year, I've said this before. Remember, we didn't have a training camp. No one did. A week and a half, that doesn't count. 2 preseason games, what was that? The NBA regular season, for all intents and purposes, was an extended preseason by far for really almost every NBA team. And this Sixer unit was able to take advantage of that extended preseason that is known as the 2020-2021 regular season. What gets me excited, what gets me pumped up, next year you have a full off season. Tyrese Maxey will have 2+ months of off-season recovery and work process to be able to recover, train, add things to your skill set. He'll be able to go down to Vegas in Summer League, which has been tended to be scheduled for August. So you're going to be able to go into the Summer League. You're going to be able to get reps. And I feel like for a guy like Tyrese Maxey, that's so crucial to be able to get 30-minute-a-game reps in a low-cost environment to continue to develop his incredibly fast-developing skills. I even saw spurts in this game where Tyrese Maxey Tyrese Maxey had a block on Rui Hachimura. Rui Hachimura is literally 5 inches taller than Tyrese Maxey, and Tyrese Maxey plays perfect defense, straight hands up, and gets a block. If Tyrese Maxey is developing into a two-way player where his defense is solid and we know what he can do offensively with the ball in his hands, Tyrese Maxey, with a year of a real training camp, a year of a real summer league, just to get huge reps. That's what this kid needs now. You can do all the practice in the world that you want. You can do all the cardio that you want, all the physical fitness, and he's done all that at a really high level. But there is nothing that takes away from in-game experience. There is nothing that's going to take away from a summer league, and instead of 2 preseason games, how about 4 or 5 preseason games? Where the starters are going to get their work in, but then Doc is going to be like, okay, young players, you're going to also get your work in. Now, I imagine Tyrese Maxey will win that starting spot eventually, but just the idea of a full training camp and a full summer league, I feel like that's going to take Tyrese Maxey to the next step. And that is exciting for Sixer fans. Because we have been missing guard play. Let's get real. We have been missing guard play. And now Tyrese Maxey is here. And he is going to be one of the studs of his draft class. And that's just a major long-term development for the Sixers, irrespective of if we win the title or not. This is a major development to have Tyrese Maxey be the player that he has been this year, and that he will have a full training camp next year, and the whole team will have another year together next year. I feel like the next 3 years are going to be really, really exciting, provided Tobias Harris continues to play this well, Joel Embiid continues to be the MVP, and Ben Simmons continues to be aggressive in spots, while being an active participant in the games. I feel like the future is very, very bright for Philadelphia 76ers. It just looks even brighter than usual because the Washington Wizards, I'm going to do my best Philly.500 impression. They stink! Sixer Universe signing off. Peace.